Try it one more time. It ain't hard to see, I've been on your mind. And I'd be lying if I say that you not on mine. Yeah, you need all of me, can barely give you time. I close my eyes and I see money. You close your eyes and you see me. I'd rather go out chasing commas. You rather run around chasing me.
All right, welcome to the first episode of On Campus with JB and Sciggy. Obviously, I am JB, Jeremiah Bogan. Here with my dope, gracious co-host for coming on with me, Sciggy, aka Scott Robinson Jr. Go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Scott Robinson Jr., otherly known as Sciggy, man. I'm a defensive back currently at Mercer, so I'm excited to talk ball and other stuff with Jeremiah here on this show.
So obviously, he talked about how he's a defensive back at Mercer University, FCS school, Division I level, big time player. Scott Robinson Jr. is. But that was kind of the vision that we had for On Campus. When I was trying to think of a name, I was like, we are college athletes, so we can go with the name On Campus. I still play at Limestone University, a Division II school in South Carolina. It just gives us, we want to give when we think about the true vision, I think it came down to, after our discussions, just minimizing not just minimizing us and making it more about teaching you guys the game. And then on top of that, giving athletes, because we're going to have guests on here, some big time guests, some NFL players, college prospects, giving those guys a chance to build their own brand, build their platform, give them a platform to be something else other than an athlete, just to show their human side. And we're going to bring some really good personalities on as guests. So maybe you guys will end up having some favorite prospects by the time next year's draft comes around, or you end up having a favorite NFL player. We've already got a really special episode with our second guest that we're going to do. It's going to be a live on location type deal. So we've got a lot in store for you guys. We're really excited to get this going. Obviously, I'm excited for you guys to get to know Sciggy. Really funny guy, really knowledgeable dude. He just welcomed himself in the draft Twitter about a week ago.
Oh, yeah. So
just remember, Sciggy, rule number one that I don't argue with nobody. So if you're tweeting at me and you're upset about something, I'm sorry. I am not going to argue with you. So I don't argue. I don't even argue with my mom. So come on now.
I might argue with them.
Just a little bit.
A little bit, yeah, just a little bit.
That's kind of your role. As I saw you on Twitter over the years. Like, you kind of like to play devil's advocate with people.
Oh yeah.
Get on people's nerves a little bit and say things intentionally to make people mad. And that's what we like. We want to have some fun on this show. Obviously, we're gonna have our own Twitter page that we're running too. So we're definitely not gonna argue with you on that one. But we just want to come into today's rundown, let you guys know what we're going to be talking about today. We just got through the intros portion, quick intros of both of us and our vision of the show. We're going to discuss the NFL draft, get into Aaron Rodgers, talk about the rise of black quarterbacks, and obviously with us being DBs, we're going to discuss the cornerbacks of the class, how we felt about the two corners going to the top 10, other guys in the class, and guys that we felt were slept on, disrespected. Some undrafted guys, some guys went a little too early. And then we're going to have a very funny segment that's probably going to be my favorite segment on the show. Actually, after the draft talk, we're not even get to the best part of the show. We're going to get to our Teach Tape section of the show. Teach Tape is going to be a segment that we bring to you guys every single week where we just discuss something. So today's Teach Tape is press technique. We're going to discuss our favorite press techniques, what we like. You never know. Next week, you might be talking about concepts and coverages. There's something different because we want to be able to give you guys some perspective of what goes through a defensive back mind or the defender's mind in general. Because you guys got to remember, as defensive backs, we kind of got to know almost everyone else's job on the field. We even sometimes have to know what the D-line's doing because sometimes what the D-line does marry with the coverages and how you can run certain fire zones, certain coverages. So that's going to be exciting. We're excited to give you guys that Teach Tape, especially as guys who are still playing the game right now. So we're still learning stuff on a day-to-day basis and just give you some of the real side of how football players think, and even on the field and off the field, what our lives consist of and what those stresses are like. Then our next segment is going to be the best segment. Sciggy Says is going to be our segment. Every week, I'm going to bring you a Sciggy Says tweet, something that he tweeted, quote tweeted, or maybe just something he retweeted, or maybe just something he liked. He doesn't know what tweet I picked, so it could be anything that he's liked within the past years. I could have just typed his Twitter handle into the little search bar and type the little word with it, like LOL, just see what he thinks is funny, just to find things of him being petty. And I think we gotta we got a little good one today that's going to be like a little warm up, and it's going to develop a good conversation, and then we're going to close the show, obviously. So let's get into it. This past week, last Thursday, we had the NFL draft. Obviously, the NFL draft started off with a bombshell with Aaron Rodgers coming out and deciding, man, I am not messing with y'all no more. Y'all thought you had me because I gave you an MVP and I acted like everything was cool, but it wasn't cool. I forgot how you tried to play me last year. What were your thoughts when that news came out?
Oh, I love it, man. I love it. Aaron Rodgers, he's my GOAT. So whenever I rank my quarterbacks, I put Aaron Rodgers at the top of the list always, just because he's got the ridiculous arm skill. He's mobile. He's smart. You know, he's got that clutch factor that you look for in a GOAT quarterback. But I love it, man. You know, you don't see New England saying, "Hey, Brady, you're getting old. Let's bring somebody else in to replace you." They trusted him. They trusted the process. So I felt like Green Bay really, really disrespected Aaron Rodgers, and I love that he's taking a stand for himself. He's the GOAT. Why would you draft a quarterback that high? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. My biggest takeaways from it were not only did they draft a quarterback last year, they traded up into the first round. So you're Aaron Rodgers sitting at home. Oh, I'm finna get me a receiver. Oh, good. Next thing you know, Jordan Love.
Man.
You sitting at the crib looking crazy. Like, whoa. And nobody talked to him about any of it. The way I see the Packers situation, because the Packers have come out and said they're willing to dig their heels in the ground and do all this and do that and make sure that he's not going to leave. They sending people to his house, simping for him to try and get him to come back. But Aaron Rodgers isn't going for it. The way I see it is, let's think about it this way. So the Packers were ready to get rid of him last year, or they were already looking towards the future a little bit, preparing to get rid of him. And then next thing you know, he decides, no, I'm going to break up with you first. Now they're like, whoa, no. We don't want this marriage to end. Well, we do, but we don't want it to end on your terms. We want it to end on our terms.
Exactly.
So it's like, you're dating a girl, you've been giving her all these hints that it's just not working out. And next thing you know, she break up with you. And you're like, whoa, that's not how it's supposed to go. And you're not upset that she broke up with you. You're upset that she broke up with you on her terms and not yours. And that's the situation the Packers are in right now, where we're starting to see quarterbacks in the league start to exercise their power a little more, and players exercise their power more, and players have voices. I think that's one of the big things that came from this past year with COVID and everything. Everybody's using their voices. And the Packers are in a situation where they're sitting at home sick because they thought they had it figured out. They were getting their quarterback of the future. They were slowly going to push Aaron Rodgers out the door. And then he said, no. I'm going to be the one to leave. And that's one of those things where you only see it in the NBA. Yeah. So to see NFL players do it is one of the things that, man. You just don't know. You just never expect to see it happen. So how do you see this? If this Aaron Rodgers situation works out, do you think we'll see a lot more of it in the future, or this is going to have to be a special case with his age?
Definitely going to see a lot more in the future. And I think something else that'll come out of this is like guaranteed contracts, you know. Like you said, guys are really starting to use their voice, and NFL players are tired of not getting their guaranteed money compared to the other leagues, you know. So I believe that this is going to open the door for more conversation, and not only will Aaron Rodgers take a stand, Brady already took his stand by leaving New England. Yeah. We got a lot of other guys that are starting to grow in age. Russell Wilson this past year had voiced some concerns about getting out of Seattle. So I feel like definitely we're going to see a lot more of this.
And that's a big thing, seeing Russell Wilson come out and say something like that. Because we do have to understand, at the end of the day, you might be one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but you are a black quarterback.
Yes, sir.
Russell Wilson, there's a different standard. Whether people there's people who want to say, let's keep race out of sports and all these things out of sports. Okay, well, it's hard to do that when people are unconsciously putting racial parameters on certain players. And that's why representation is such a big thing, because you have to think about the people who are GMs. These are still some of your old school guys who a few years ago were clamoring that you have to be able to play under center, or whenever a guy comes out of college, like when Marcus Mariota came out, like, will he be able to take a snap under center? It's like, well, I don't know. How about we just put him in shotgun where he works best from? Because like at the end of the day, if you can't take a player with the talent level of a Marcus Mariota or the talent level of a Lamar Jackson and make it work, you're just not a good coach. Because that player is that's a talented player. If you can't find something to do with that doesn't involve him playing running back or playing receiver.
Yep.
And that's one of the biggest things that we've seen recently is the rise of the black quarterbacks in the NFL. You can make the case that your top 3, 4 QBs are African-American QBs.
Sure.
We're talking about Pat Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson. And then you even got Dak Prescott down there in Dallas who's put up elite numbers. And he still got disrespected and had to have his ankle almost pop out on national TV for him to get a contract. And people were wondering, why was he holding out? But when you see his ankle dangling, that's why he held out. Because he honestly could have lost a lot of money out of that situation. But luckily, he's all the Cowboys have.
Yep.
So
they're saving grace right now.
They had to back the Brinks truck up for him.
Oh, yeah.
And we've kind of seen the racial biases go into Justin Fields' whole ordeal as a prospect as well. And I know you want to talk on that too. So just talk to us about what you saw in the draft process about how Justin Fields was evaluated.
He was highly disrespected, like majorly disrespected. Justin Fields he's been my number one guy since his senior year in high school. I've been telling people I've seen him in person. I've seen Trevor in person, but Justin Fields just, I don't know if he has different laces on the ball or what it is, but that guy is a different breed. So to see him go from, in my eyes, a guy that could be the number one pick to people talking about taking him late in the first or either second round was very, very shocking to me. I didn't like that at all. But I will say that I do commend the Bears for making their decision to go get Justin Fields. I'm really disappointed in the Jets for drafting Zach Wilson with their. I just think the Jets want early draft picks every year at this point. I don't think they really care about winning games anymore. I just think that they think it's fun to be the first 5 draft picks. So the Jets, they're sad this year. But the Bears, I think they're on the come up with guys like Allen Robinson out there. Fields will have some pretty good targets to get the ball to. Another guy that I really like that I also thought was better than Zach Wilson was Kellen Mond. Yeah, I love Kellen Mond.
We might have a problem there.
Kellen Mond is he was a slow grower. He came in, struggled early. He got better, and then he struggled not this past season, but the year before. And then this season he started off slow, but then he really put out some good numbers. He's a bigger body. He's a lot more durable, and he played a much tougher schedule than Zach Wilson. So I mean, no hard shed on BYU, but I don't think that their schedule was tough enough to just give Zach Wilson the second overall pick, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing with Kellen Mond for me is, and I hate it because, you know the code. When you have a black quarterback, he makes the NFL, we got to root for him. That's just how it works. I root for every black quarterback in the NFL, whether I like their ability to play or not. It's like, now I kind of got to root for Kellen Mond to take the starting job. That's just the code. That's how it works. But Kellen Mond started 40 or so games at the college level, and we still don't know if he's good or not. That's my problem. So people will sit back and say, oh, he has potential. And I'm like, how much more potential can he have if I just watched him play a ton of games at this level, watched him do a lot of boo-boo things, and then a lot of great things though on the other hand. But it's like, how are you expecting him to go? Hold on, how are you expecting him to go from this level to a level with better football players, faster football players, and all of a sudden the light's going to pop on? He's not going to be making bonehead decisions on Sundays. I just don't understand how you see that. Tell me how you see his trend. Maybe you can convince me. He's black, so he's already got that he's got it a little bit for me. I can cheer for him a little bit. But convince me to really buy in on this.
I think he's just a much, much, much better Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's hot and cold, man. And when he's cold, he's cold. He's cold. He's ice cold. But when he's hot, he's hot, man. He's really, I think, getting
Who's the
under
career backup?
Cousins. I think getting him under Cousins, learning a little bit more about the game first.
Well,
and
learn from who? Who's he learning from?
No, it'll be
Who's the quarterback you say he's gonna learn from? Who's the guy in front of him?
Cousins.
Oh, he ain't gonna learn. Oh, what is he gonna learn?
He'll learn a little bit. He'll learn a little bit, but to just get in there with an NFL guy, a guy that's been through it, he'll learn a lot more than he knows now. But when he finally takes over and gets that game experience, it's gonna take him to the next level. Kellen Mond's gonna be a guy that was highly slept on just because he made some mistakes. But I mean, a lot of those A&M quarterbacks have made mistakes. I mean, look at Manziel.
Yeah, look at him. Where is he?
Exactly. He was. But that was because off the field issues.
I mean, he wasn't diming people in the NFL either, though.
But he was a guy that was
And I love
flashy.
Manziel.
He was hot and cold, just like Kellen Mond is. Kellen Mond has no off the field issues and has much stronger
Kellen
arm.
Mond also don't have a Heisman in his back pocket.
That's true.
He don't even have a top 5 finish or top 15 finish in the Heisman in his pocket. Y'all can go research that for me. I don't know, but there's no way he's ever got any Heisman votes, period. But
no,
that's neither here nor there. But to push on to another thing, and talking about the way black QBs are evaluated, even when the top quarterbacks in the league are black, you have to think about the way those guys were evaluated. Mahomes, he's a Texas Tech guy, blah, blah. Mahomes had to just come in and show you, I'm that dude.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson, too short, all this, all that. But he won it every single place he was at in college. Had the arm strength, had the prototypical tools with his arm, but people still doubted him. He had to go show you he's the best. Lamar Jackson torched defenses, and then on top of that, he ran a pro style offense in college, and people still said they don't know if he can learn. They don't know if he can make these passes. Talking about he's inaccurate. Meanwhile, in the same draft class, Josh Allen was sitting there with like a 52% completion percentage, and they said, "Oh, it's the guys he's played with. It's the guys he played with." I know they were garbage. They were terrible at Wyoming. Those receivers were very boo-boo.
Yeah.
But you can't tell me that if he had even a slightly better receiver, that all of a sudden his percentage is going to go to 62, 63. That's not some good receivers are not accounting for you just missing dudes, not being able to throw the ball into the ocean and complete it. Like that doesn't account for that. It's just one of those things where it's like we heavily scrutinize black quarterbacks. We hold them to a different standard than we do with, for example, Mac Jones. They come in, they say Mac Jones is the most pro-ready quarterback in this class. Have you ever realized that the term most pro-ready is always given to the guy with the least amount of arm strength? But basically, he has the least amount to give us at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But Trey Lance, on the other hand, who started just as many games, is raw and all this and all that. Mm-hmm. Man, in what way is Mac Jones with less tools, less upside? And keep in mind, people have said Trey Lance is an absolute stud genius when it comes to being on the football board. So you can't give me the crap about, he just knows the knowledge. And then let's talk about the offense that Trey Lance ran in college. Mm-hmm. North Dakota State is about as pro style as it gets, while still being able to add in modern day concepts, getting a shotgun, do different things of that nature, understanding how to use Trey Lance, add him as a part of the power running game. Like, what I don't understand, like, where was Mac Jones more prepared, and how is he more ready with less tools and less upside? And I just don't. And they tried to push him on me. The media tried to push him on me to number 3. Maybe San Francisco was just playing a sick joke on us. I don't know. But it wasn't it. I never saw it for Mac Jones. I still thought he was a day 2 quarterback, maybe day 3. There's nothing about him that makes me want to be like, that's my quarterback of the future. Yeah. And definitely not at pick 15 when there are receivers sitting on the board that the Patriots needed. Mm-hmm. And that's just one of those things, like, why are black quarterbacks getting evaluated so differently when we've even shown that what we could be? Because you have to think, they always say as black people, we have to be twice as good. Well, check this out. If Cam Newton, let's go to Cam Newton, for example. Not only was Cam Newton twice as good, he was something that we had never, ever, ever seen before. People still mad at him. Pat Mahomes. He's trying to be the GOAT. He's,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers is our GOAT, but I tell people, Pat Mahomes is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. I ain't never
Yes.
seen nothing like it. That's ridiculous what he does on a weekly basis. Lamar Jackson, they say, oh, he won't do that at the NFL level. Dude is playing high school football at the NFL level, cutting back, stopping on a dime.
He's got an
watching
MVP.
watching somebody run by him, and he's like, oh, I'm just going to step out of bounds. He's treating people like high school football. And y'all
Yes.
still, we still have to have black quarterbacks be all this and all that. Like, why can't a black quarterback just be like Mac Jones? Why can I have a black quarterback with the tools that Mac Jones have, and let's say, he's the most pro-ready guy? If we start doing that, then I'm cool with it. That's fine. I understand that. But if Mac Jones didn't have the Bama logo on his head, what are we talking about?
Yes, exactly.
At the end of the day. So it's just one of those things.
The thing with that is, I mean, it's just simply blasphemous, you know. I think they think too much about the legs when it comes to black quarterbacks. They see, oh, he's mobile. How long can he be mobile? That's the biggest thing they think. They think about injuries, and I just think that if you hold them to that same standard and you just cut out the legs, these guys have been shown that they've been at the top of the totem pole for the past decades. You know what I'm saying? It's not fair. I'm glad that the number of black QBs is rising up. A guy that is in some deep water right now, being Deshaun Watson, has really just shown the league like what that pro-ready black quarterback can do. With no receivers, he put up like insane numbers.
MVP numbers.
Yes.
And we're talking about Deshaun Watson's a guy that coming out in the process, they said he didn't have the arm strength. He didn't do all this. Now, keep in mind, when we have white quarterbacks who have no kind of big time attributes, what do we always say? Oh, he's a winner.
Mm-hmm.
You want me to tell you somebody, if you want to talk about, oh, he's just a winner, those are usually your quarterbacks. If I ask you the first thing about a quarterback, you say he's a winner, you just told me he can't throw the football. but that gets people drafted pretty high because like, and that happens. So how come when Deshaun Watson came out, how come he just couldn't be? He's just a winner. Yeah. Dabo Swinney endorsed him and called him Michael Jordan, which was a little asinine, but it is what it is. Like, why can't that be the case? Why do we have to be Lamar Jackson, Cam Newton, Pat Mahomes? Why do we have to be Hall of Famers before we come into the league? Why do we have to have Hall of Fame potential for us to qualify as being a top-tier quarterback? And going back to Justin Fields, people have to understand there were websites that had Justin Fields ranked ahead of Trevor Lawrence coming out of high school.
Yes.
There were NFL people that went down to that Elite 11 and came away thinking that Justin Fields was better than Trevor Lawrence. And we're talking about Trevor Lawrence, who's a guy who was pretty much dubbed the chosen one since he's like 12, 13 years old. Yep. Meanwhile, Justin Fields was a kid who was just trying to get an offer from the University of Mercer, the school that you're at. That's the only place he wanted an offer from. Dude was committed to Penn State, was unranked, and all of a sudden, in the next recruiting rankings update, ESPN jumped him to number 1 over Trevor Lawrence. And now people are like, oh, who's this? Who's this dude? But all of a sudden he gets to college. He doesn't play his first year because Georgia decided that Jake Fromm was, it's another thing that the white quarterback gets the benefit of. He's not better than Fields, but he just has a grip on the locker room better.
He's been here longer.
Yeah, he fits our offense better. So why did you go get this uber athletic quarterback and want him to come to your school if you weren't going to fit everything to, like, come on. Anyway, not the point. Goes to Ohio State. Balls out his first year as a starter. Could have got him a Heisman. I think he finished second, third. I can't remember. And then he comes back the next year, does it again. But when he has his struggles, it's all of a sudden, he can't read a defense. He can't do this. Now, at this same point in time in Trevor Lawrence's career, because we got to remember, Justin Fields hasn't started a lot of football games still. Mm-hmm. Trevor Lawrence experienced these same struggles. What did he throw, like 8 picks in their first 3 or 4 games last year? Mm-hmm. Nobody said Trevor Lawrence is broken. They were like, talented quarterback. He'll get out of it, blah, blah.
It's the COVID. It's all that. It's all that.
He'll be back, and he'll be fine. And then now Justin Fields experienced those struggles at about the same mark, but in a different year. And it's like, see, this was our problem with him. This is what we thought would happen with him. It's like they're waiting for him to do something bad. And let's keep in mind, he played bad against Northwestern. That's a top 10 defense in the country last year. Like, these aren't some Rudy Poos out there running around in the secondary. Like, these dudes can ball. These ain't no average Joe Schmoes. They're better than every ACC defense out there.
Yep.
So it's not like he's being garbage against garbage teams. And, like, he's showed up big in the biggest of moments. I mean, we're a Sean Wade fake targeting call Trevor Lawrence away from him beating Trevor Lawrence in that game, or his receiver continue to run the route and that being the game-winning touchdown. Yep. So, I mean, he's just shown us Justin Fields has come up on the biggest games on national television. He's continuously showed us who he is, and people still try to tell him what he is when he's already shown it.
Not even talking about his on the field performance.
Yes.
The character issues of him not wanting the game enough. The guy started a whole movement in the state of Ohio just so they would be able to play this season. He gets crushed in that game against Clemson, and ribs snapped, and comes back, fights from it. I just don't understand how you can't be a fan of the kid.
Exactly. And you can't forget, he also had the touchdown pass against Michigan. He goes out with a knee injury, comes out with a fat knee brace on.
Yep.
Rose left.
Lineman knee brace.
Yeah, I'm going to throw a dime into the back of the end zone. Tell me I don't love football. Tell me I got character issues. Mac Jones has a couple DUIs. Never heard of it.
Not one.
Never heard talk about it. I ain't heard talk about it. I found it on Twitter. I don't know why. I never knew. They told me he was the guy. Like, he's the nicest dude around. He's this, he's that. Then they're going to find a way to say how Justin Fields rubs his teammates the wrong way. But you talk to Ryan Day. You talk to, when he was at Elite 11, a guy like Trent Dilfer who ran the camp. They said Justin Fields has been the most professional kid they've come across since he was 17, 18 years old. Because Elite 11 is the summer going into your senior year. So, yeah, 17 years old.
And to piggyback off that, you saw what Cam said when the kid was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. Have you seen the video? Cam, he said he's talking about the best thing coming. And I'm telling you, Justin Fields was so elite in high school. I remember playing that Cam Newton 7-on-7 team.
Oh yeah, tell me about you seen him there.
Man, I've been on the field with him. So my freshman year of high school, I played with Trevor in an All-American game. Okay. And then later in high school, I played against Fields. And Trevor was really, really good. You could tell that he was gonna be that guy at the next level. But also on our team was Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Yeah.
Who performed really, really well that weekend. Just about the same as Trevor. They were in that same. So then seeing Justin Fields in person, I know we didn't have pads on, but just to see his arm strength and the way he threaded the needle on different routes and stuff, and the way he understood.
Remember, in a 7-on-7 setting, folks, he can't run around. He's not showing his legs. This is all arm talent.
And to see like how he would understand our defense. I mean, there's been times like I would make a call on defense because I know what's coming on offense, and he would audible the play because he knows I know what's coming, and he would throw a dart out of it. And to see that at such a young level made me respect the guy really, really well. And that's why I always kind of had Justin Fields like here over Trevor Lawrence. But I mean, Trevor, he's 6'6", you know, he's a lot more mobile than people give him credit for. So of course, you know, he coming up in that Clemson scheme, 3-year starter, back to back, you know, had Heisman numbers. So I could understand why he would be the number one guy, but for Justin Fields not to go number 2 is unacceptable.
Absolutely. I mean, we're talking about Zach Wilson, who played against, I mean, whatever you want to call that conference. Because I'm not saying there's not prospects there, but he was throwing back shoulder fades consistently and throwing best routes, and it worked. Like that's the kind of stuff you do against teams that aren't that good. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to really scheme up anything. we're just gonna run neat. We're gonna run our like 4 or 5 plays, and there's nothing they can do about it. And then if the rush doesn't get there, he's gonna run around a little bit, and then he's
I
gonna throw.
think he's got that Johnny Manziel effect. They see quick, twitchy, athletic white kid, and it just shot the stock off, man. I don't see the hype, honestly.
Oh man, you know they want you know people just want to see like the most mobile white guy ever.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy because they really could have clung to that with Trevor because he got some legit mobility, but they missed the opportunity because he's just so good with his arm. Like white people are just wait. I know they're waiting on their savior, their white savior with legs to just come in and then they'll finally believe in the dual threat quarterback mold. Because like right now they're waiting for Lamar to get hurt and be like, oh, see this is why this style can't uphold the NFL. Oh, but look at Cam Newton. He had injuries. His line didn't block. Let's be real. Come on. Ron Rivera kept the playbook basic, never tried to expand it or evolve it in any sort of way.
And he carried. See,
yes.
I'm glad you said that because I've been arguing with my friends for probably about the past 4 or 5 months about Cam Newton being elite. Cam Newton carried that team to a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And his best wide receiver that year was Ted Ginn.
See, this is where we're gonna save that one for another episode too. We're gonna have an episode we just talk about some of the best football players, period, like every level, like regardless, like what they did in NFL and stuff, like some of the best seasons we've ever seen, and just most dominant players we've ever seen. But obviously, that was a big part of the draft. Everybody loves the quarterbacks, but we're DBs. We care about who's guarding these receivers in this game that's predicated towards success for the offense and how they keep trying to make it harder on defenses. We want to discuss some of the cornerbacks in the class. 2 guys went top 10. We had Caleb Farley go to the Titans at 22. We had Greg Newsome go at 26. What were your thoughts on the cornerbacks that we saw go, their fits? And I know you were a little unhappy about the first one that came out the board, so tell us about that.
Yeah, man. Wasn't a big fan of the JC Horn pick. I love the kid though. I love him. I think he's the best press corner in the draft by far. But me growing up in the Carolinas, seeing them struggle offensively. Obviously you get Sam Darnold in and then draft some guys later, but I think personally they should have went Rashawn Slater with their first overall pick to get a guy on the offensive line. I mean, that guy, he's phenomenal. I mean, he earned a lot of money in that Ohio State game to what he did with Chase Young that night.
He earned so much money, he didn't have to play this year.
He didn't have to play. And didn't have to play, man.
His stock went up and never played a game. Explain how that works. But neither here nor there. Another day.
But I think JC is gonna succeed anywhere he's at just because of his mentality, you know. But wasn't the biggest fan of that pick. I think if you do take a DB there, you go Surtain. I feel like Surtain's a lot more versatile. I feel like he's better in soft coverage. A bigger guy, you know, played in the Alabama scheme, and Alabama DBs like really perform well on the next level. So I mean, I don't know if it was just because he played in Carolina, you wanted to keep him in the Carolinas, or
they're big on drafted hometown guys,
or what the ideology behind it was. But I feel like if you do go defensive back there, you take Surtain. A guy that I really liked, and I told you this, we talked about it a little bit. Greg Newsome, I was a huge fan of him this year. He turned Northwestern into I don't know what happened with their defense this past year, but Greg Newsome is a guy. I think the Browns won the draft this year, honestly.
Yeah, they had a really good class.
In going to get Greg was a huge move. They're gonna have a phenomenal secondary with Denzel Ward and just the two of them alone is going to be special.
Grant Delpit's coming back too. Gotta remember that. Mm-hmm. So then it depends how greedy health is. Obviously, get that. But like you said, J.C. Horn pick. Love J.C. Horn, but we're talking about a press court. And not saying J.C. can't play soft coverage, play from off man, because I think he has the athleticism to do those things. He showed he could do those things on tape, but his best thing is, I mean, I'm talking like J.C. Horn has Revis-like press technique.
Yes.
Like the patience at the line is ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Like we talk about what I don't want to get too far ahead into the teach tape portion, but it's just why would you draft a predominantly press man corner and put him in a scheme that's just going to be a soft coverage scheme? Playing a lot of quarters, playing a lot of cover 3, just playing away from the line of scrimmage. Unless I did say I will accept that pick if they're using J.C. Horn as a guy to evolve their defense. To use him as a guy, okay, maybe since we don't have the best cover guys, what we'll do is we'll add J.C. Horn in. He'll follow guys around, and we can play coverage around that. Just like the way that Revis gave the Jets so much versatility, even when they had a corner like Antonio Cromartie on the other side of him.
Yep.
So now I want to talk to you about the Caleb Farley pick too. So I don't know how much so you're new to draft Twitter. Mm-hmm. So you're not studying all these guys super hard, but you know what you know. You see what you see.
Yeah.
Like for us, when you see it, I can tell you this dude's it, this dude's not it.
Yeah.
Caleb Farley, freak athlete, does some freakish things from off coverage. Eyes are all over the place. Is for a guy as athletic as he is, he's not really that good of a press corner. He gets sped up a little bit, which is weird when you run a 4.2, 4.3 like they reported. So his problem was he had 2 back surgeries.
Yep.
And he's torn his ACL before. Express to people how, first of all, you're a 20-year-old guy with 2 back surgeries already in your life. Express to people how hard it is to bank on the guy to come back from those back surgeries at a position that involves doing so much twisting, so much turning. Like, just think about how much your back hurts on a weekly basis in practice.
I was a huge fan of Farley. Me personally, I wouldn't have taken him that high just due to the extent of the injuries. But before this past year, I had him top 3 at corner. It's rough. It just, like you say, he's a freak, man. He's insane. But people don't realize how much you have to do at the defensive back position, and how much even playing at 80% can affect your play at the defense. Because I mean, DB is the hardest position on the field. You gotta account for other people's areas while maintaining an eye on drop steps and route combinations. And if you can't move, then you're screwed, basically. So I like the faith, but I don't know. I don't think I would have went that high on him.
Yeah, you just I think of like how I feel after a week of practice, or just even when you're training in the off season and you're doing so much movement skills, working on so many movement skills, because like you're training, you're trying to get everything right for the season. Like your body's on 10. Like,
oh yeah,
your groin sometimes hurt, and if it's not your groin, your back's going to be a little sore. Like your lower back, it's always going to be something, because like that position just requires a lot of twisting, a lot of turning, and a back injury is something that NFL teams already take a lot of cautious on back injuries, because you can never. It's hard when you're talking about the spine and things of that nature. It's like that's just something I didn't really understand. Now, to push the corner conversation a little farther, there are some guys that we have one guy in mind in particular that we felt like got a little disrespected. Obviously, not only will he eventually become a friend of the show because he's going to hop on here one day with us, but he's the guy that you played with in high school. And we've actually seen him evolve as a player from a high school guy who was a guy who was tall and had the size, and developed into an NFL prospect, because he wasn't ready to be that guy immediately out of high school, as some guys who are his size that get the 4 stars or 5 stars. So he kind of had to work his way to this. So talk about the guy that you think got disrespected on draft.
So first I want to say that a point I want to talk about, De'Ami Brown was my offensive diamond for the draft. He was the guy I felt like could possibly slip, but whoever picked him up was getting a stud, like a stud. And my defensive guy was Nick McLeod, and this is the guy we're going to talk about here. God, I mean, 6'3", 6'4", runs a 4.37 in his 40. When people were saying he was going to run a 4.6, 4.7, you know, and just some of the guys that got drafted before him,
Speaking on it.
It's terrible. Like, okay, let's start with Tay Gowan from UCF.
He's a good player. I give it to him. He
He's
sat
a
out because
good
of COVID.
player.
Sat out because of COVID. Is he better than him? No, he wasn't ahead of him.
Not at all. And another guy that Nick, a team that Nick went to, the Bills, drafted Rashad Wildgoose.
Corn. He's a nickel. I don't think you draft him ahead of McLeod, but I'm playing the devil's advocate. I'm going to play devil's advocate with everybody you name.
Rashad, I don't like if
Brandon Eccles from Kentucky got drafted.
Brandon Eccles got drafted to the Jets, and
he got drafted. Jets. Period.
Okay, so let's talk the Jets. Jets draft Jason Pinnock from Pitt,
and he ain't it. Talk about it.
And they draft Brandon Eccles. We discussed Brandon Eccles. Brandon Eccles is a hell of a tackler, like crazy. He put up crazy tackling numbers from playing corner. But when Nick McLeod entered the transfer portal, his grad transfer year, a team that recruited him heavily was Pittsburgh. And why do you think they did that?
They tried to get Pinnock out the spot.
They tried to get him out the spot. So I don't understand how you can see the potential at the college level, but these scouts and these draft guys are missing all these gems. I mean, Nick had a crazy season. I mean, really the only game that he gave up numbers was against Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith had about 3 for 50 on him. He won the dang Heisman. His best game this season was against De'Ami Brown. De'Ami Brown had 4 for 84 that game, I believe, but only
they weren't on him.
They weren't on him. He had 2 targets. I think it was for like a total of 12 or 13. Yeah. And he completely took him out the game whenever he was covering him. He gave up 1 catch against Clemson, and that was that underthrown post ball.
Yeah. And those are hard to get back to. People don't understand that.
Underthrown ball is a DB's worst enemy.
Because he was top shoulder, the position you want to be to make a play on that kind of ball, and the ball's underthrown. Now you got to try to retrace your step, and you can't do that as easily if you're already taking your momentum that way.
And he gives up that 1 post ball, and for Cornell Powell to come out after the season and say the best corner I went against all season was Nick McLeod. I don't understand what these scouts are seeing. And the Panthers took 2 DBs and drafted a long snapper.
Yes.
Drafted a long snapper. We talk about how they love the Carolinas. This is a guy born and raised in the Carolinas, a guy that trains with Gilmore, and a guy that's put in tons and tons of work. But you draft a long snapper if you're going to take multiple DBs and you leave McLeod out of the picture. I don't understand how
a lot of those corners I got taken. Whew, I said, oh God. I mean, McLeod was in my top 20 of corners. I'm not saying he's a first round guy. I'm not saying he's a second round guy. I had him as a 4th or 5th round guy. Same. So to see him go undrafted in general is disrespectful. Because like if we were biased people, like yes, we know him. He's a friend of ours. If we were biased people, I'd say, oh my boy's the truth. First round pick. No, he's a 4th, 5th round guy. That's fine. There's things that he does well on tape. There's things that he does not do well on tape. Not the greatest mover in the world, but he has plenty enough agility to be a guy who could be. I saw, I forgot who the Seattle Seahawks took. Trey Brown, the corner from Oklahoma. Love him, but he doesn't fit that scheme. They don't use a nickel, so I don't know why he'd play there. He doesn't fit the cover 3 mold. Like McLeod fits the perfect cover 3 mold. He plays a lot of press bail. Like
the guy I would compare him to the most is Richard Sherman. Both very, very intelligent guys.
Yeah, that's what he is. Smart player.
Both can break down an offense like none other that I've seen. Both are very, very physical. Both know how to get in your head. Both don't look as fast on film, but when it comes to out there being on the field, they can run with those faster guys. So I think that was a huge miss. I mean, kudos to Buffalo for picking them up, but we'll see how. Their
quarterbacks poo, so they definitely need to get him because Josh Norman, you're about to get kicked up out of the spot.
Josh Norman's he's done. He's done.
You should have stayed in the cover 3 scheme.
I never thought Josh Norman was good. As soon as he left Carolina, I told people he was going to get cooked.
He's not a man-to-man guy. He should have stayed with the cover 3.
Mm-hmm. He's a freak athlete, though. He is a freak athlete, though.
But moving a little forward, we're going to get into our teach tape segment. Go back to JC Horn. Just talking about press technique. Me and Skiggy had the idea to talk about some of our best favorite press techniques. I think when I want to talk about press technique, I just want to talk about how JC Horn is a guy. His press technique is so good that he comes to the line with it looks like he comes to the line with the mentality of I'm going to dictate the tempo of the receiver. So he's not like he's going to crowd the line, but he has a different bag of things. He can use his length. He can go with a 2-hand jam. Yep. He can soft shoe you. He can give you the little inch back mirror. He can mirror you lateral with the basketball shuffles. I mean, he's truly a guy who's in control of the tempo at the line of scrimmage, and that's what I like to see more from press coverage. I think the people on Twitter and stuff who, whenever they see press coverage, they're like, "Oh, I want to see this guy get mauled. I want to see him get in his face." People say he's too conservative in press technique. I'm like, no, he's mirroring. Yeah, he's mirroring his movements. Now, there's guys like last year, you had TCU's Jeff Gladney. He would do an inch back technique, but he would give up 3 or 4 yards because he wasn't – when you inch back, you have to inch the tempo of the receiver, not just inch back, just to be moving back because now you're giving up space. But if you can match that tempo, you can kind of – he takes a step, you take an inch. He takes a step, you take an inch. Now that's how you match that tempo and keep that space without letting him get on your toes and still giving a different look. And that's how you can control the tempo with little things like that. And people don't understand. Press technique is just about controlling the tempo, slowing the offense down, even just making him the quarterback go to his next read. That's why when you watch one-on-ones at the Senior Bowl, I'll sit there and look at a rep. A guy may catch the ball. I'm like, that play's over with the line of scrimmage. Mm-hmm. He just took like 3 seconds just to give a release. And I don't know who his offensive line he's going to be playing with, but that ain't happening. So just talk to us about some of your favorite things to look for in press.
See, I'm a guy that I've always hated the inch back because I like you said, you got to keep the tempo. I always struggled with giving too much separation when I inch back. So I don't know if you remember Barlow at NC State. He was their corners guy a while back. I remember him teaching the true step at the line of scrimmage. You just kind of take a step like out, back in, and it's just like kind of like a linebacker with buzz, but how you do at
like a read step type deal.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. That was what I familiarized myself with the most, what I became comfortable with the most, just to eliminate giving any separation, and then from there I can mirror the guy out of press. But
can you help us out here? When you are done with this, just give us a little video of you just showing us the true step in press coverage. Just go out in your backyard and do it. Something we can just post on our Twitter pages, just so people can see these things that we're talking about in Teach Tape.
Got you. But watching JC Horn in press coverage it's like being an artist and watching Picasso do something. You know, it is amazing. He's so patient, which is what a lot of people don't, and I think that's what makes Gilmore the best guy in the league. He's so patient. I remember the year that he won his MVP, watching that Miami game, a couple of the interceptions he had that game. They were in a bunch trips, and he's taking the point guy, and he was so patient with it in press coverage. I don't know how he didn't get turned or anything with all the routes switching through or whatever, but the way those guys play press coverage, I see a lot of similarities between the two, and hopefully Carolina will realize that, and like you said, use him as a guy to travel, use him as a guy to take receivers out of the game and let them get handsy and let them be at the line of scrimmage, so he can perform. But watching him play press coverage is literally one of my favorite hobbies. But
and he's a smarter guy too at the line of scrimmage. He does a technique. I just call it like force and release. He'll do it. He'll line up inside, he'll go ahead and take a slight inside step, knowing that if he gives the inside step, the receiver's probably just going to try to give him a speed release or take him back outside because you're thinking that he's giving that release. He'll give that little slight step to make it like he's nearing inside. He'll go kick slide to go ahead and get back on top of that angle and beat the receiver to the cutoff point. Now the receiver has to run through him instead of being able to just run by him. He's got to run through him, run around him. Like that's just the little nuances at the line.
And the thing with him is he never opens the gate, meaning like he never gets turned sideways. He's always
Absolutely.
square. He's always keeping the guy in front of him. And I mean, I guess that's why Carolina decided to take him with their first pick.
And I definitely understand that. And just people have to understand when we're talking press coverage, like you can't just expect guys to maul guys at the line. Really look at the technique the guy is using and determine if his technique works or not. Just determine that. Don't try to say, oh, I want this guy to be more physical at the line. Like, for example, Jeffrey Okudah was such a good cornerback prospect in last year's class that I had to nitpick his game and just be like, oh, he has super long arms. Maybe he's still using it because his feet were so good at the line. Yeah. He didn't have to stab anybody. He's like, I'm gonna mirror you, and then I'm gonna just wall you off to the sideline because I can run with you because that's what I do. I can run too. So it's just those little nuances of the game that people got to understand and see those things when you're evaluating DBs. But now moving on, my favorite segment. I'm so excited about this. Sciggy says, all right, keep in mind, I'm picking just a tweet that Sciggy has tweeted or anything he's retweeted or just seen that he liked and I thought was funny and just want him to speak on it a little more. So he has no idea. I'm just coming off of these every week. I got a couple loaded in the clip just in case one day I want to hit him with two. The one I picked this week was he responded to a tweet on, let's see the date, April 18th, 2021. Sciggy responded to a tweet that was like, the tweet said, it's called Knock Knock Ginger and I won't have anyone tell me different. Sciggy says, if you knock, it's knock knock zoom zoom.
Oh yeah.
And if you ring the doorbell, it's ding dong ditch.
Oh yeah, man.
Real black people know when you knock what the game's really called. Anyway, I know
what you're talking about. Yeah.
But anyway, I brought this up because I wanted Sciggy to tell us and have us discuss our best ding dong ditch stories as kids.
Ooh-wee. Hey, man. There's been a couple. Let me think. I say best one had to be when I was on vacation, man, like in a hotel as a kid. We used to go around hotel room or like our hotel and just bang on somebody's door and haul tail, man. I mean, like it's like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. We don't have no business being up knocking on people's doors. But yeah, man, that's the kind of stuff we used to do as kids. I ain't never been caught though. Luckily.
Oh no, you're trash if you get caught.
Yeah,
but I'm trying to think. My best one is I've had a couple close calls because I always played with the same group when I was like middle school. So me and my best friends, we were playing in the afternoon one day. That's how arrogant we were. We were good at it. We were playing in the afternoon one day. So we're going around ringing doorbells in this neighborhood across the street from my old neighborhood that I used to live in. And there's a house, and then you know how some people have like shrubbery, like a bush in the front of their yard, like sitting at the very front of the yard, kind of next to the mailbox or something. So we've been going around ringing the doorbell. We got this house, run the doorbell, got him. He didn't find us. We dipped. We went around, rung some other houses, came back to this house and did it again. But this time when we run the doorbell, we didn't run away. We actually run the doorbell. We want to see his reaction. So somebody's hiding in the house across the street and somebody's hiding behind the little bush. And of course, you know, if that bush is in the front yard, the house across the street can see the kid behind the bush, but the person that's in the actual house can't see who's behind there, even though who's back there. Some lady yells out the window, "There's one behind the bush." And we go, and as soon as she said that, dude, when I tell you, we didn't even like try to say sorry, nothing. As soon as she said that, just dip, just run, just get out.
For sure. For sure.
We're not talking to anybody, just run. And then we had another time we played at nighttime with the same group of guys. We played at nighttime in this pretty big neighborhood, kind of a wealthy neighborhood. So, you know, these type of people that were really calling the cops. Like, what are you calling the cops on? I just rung your doorbell. For all you know, I could have been selling cookies or I was scared. You never know. But anyway, like these people really call the cops. They have the little sensor lights in the door and everything at their house. So we get to this one guy's house, ring his doorbell. So we hide in the houses across the street and it's dark. So you definitely can't see us. So we're kind of hiding. Like if daylight was out, we'd be hiding in broad daylight. But since it's so dark, we're dressed in black. I'm dark. So you definitely not seeing me. So you wouldn't be able to see it. So we could watch his whole reaction. He walks out, looks around. Whatever. Next thing you know, he goes inside. We're like, nah, we're not going to leave. We're going to get him again. We went back, run the doorbell again, sprinted back across the street. He comes outside, looks around. Whoever is doing this, you need to stop. I've got a wife and kids in here trying to sleep. Blah, 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 blah. So we're like, we done got this man charged up. All right, so we feeding off of that now. So he goes inside, turns off all he still had lights on downstairs in his house. So he goes inside, turns off all his lights downstairs, so thinking that we wouldn't be able to see him. But like, I'm smart enough to think, all right, turn off all his lights because he's gonna try to peep out one of the windows so we don't see him. So now he's sitting at his bottom floor in the living room, looking out the front blinds over there, and I see him. Like, y'all see that dude right there? He over there at the blinds. I said, I can see him, and they're like, all right, you can get him one more time. So with him looking at us, so here's what we do. We get one person to go down there. And so I went around to ring the doorbells. Like I went around a couple of houses to kind of backdoor him so he wouldn't be able to see me from his window. But what he did see was he saw the guy sprinting. So I was like, as I get closer to the house, y'all just start dashing for it. So I got to his doorstep, run the doorbell, and we dipped. Next thing you know, he just see all of us running. He's trying to come. Now he's trying to come out the door, and we're just like, yeah, whatever. Dude couldn't do nothing about it.
Yeah, that boy's fool, man.
Oh, we were wild. Like those are just some of my best memories as a child, just doing stuff, stupid stuff like that. And even though, like, that's one of those nights where I had to stay at one of my friends' house, and my mom didn't know I was out in the street at like 11 o'clock at night, just ringing people's doorbells because I couldn't do that at the house. So my mom's like, "Where you going?"
Nah.
She's not going for it. You know, my other friends of the other color, you know, their parents are a little more lenient about it. So they don't be tripping about it. so we're having fun with that. But that's it. That wraps up our first episode of On Campus with JB and Sciggy. I mean, we hope you guys enjoy this. It's gonna be an exciting series for us. We got some big plans for you guys, just to have some fun and just to gain some knowledge. Yeah, next week is gonna be huge. We're not gonna tell you the guests. We might drop a cryptic gift later in the week, next week, once we get it fully confirmed on a time and date. Just to it's a guy that people are going to want to hear from. He's kind of been off the grid for a little bit. Big time name. Obviously, JB, Jeremiah Bogan. You can find me on Twitter at BlessBogan5. Follow us on campus _ATB on Twitter. Make sure when you guys listen to these episodes, give us some ratings, give us some reviews. Like, if you're not reviewing us, you don't really rock with us. So stop listening if you're not going to give a review. If you're not even going to give us stars, like, that takes 3 seconds. 3 seconds, just pop the 5 stars in because we know we're worth the 5 stars. You might be a 4. You might be a 4 right now, but it's going to get to a 5. We're going to take this thing to another level. It's going to be better than all your podcasts that you listen to on your morning drives, when you're just sitting in the living room doing nothing on a Saturday. It's going to be for you. It's for everybody. For your mom, your grandkids, for all the grandmas, everybody, uncles, aunties, nieces. It's for everybody. And obviously, Sciggy, let the folks know where they can find you on social media.
Oh yeah, follow me on Twitter at ScottR_12. Make sure you tell us what you guys want to hear. You know, what you want us to talk about, what insight you guys want. Because obviously we're two guys that know the game pretty well. And everybody just peace and love, man. You know, that's all we're here for.
Yes, sir. Send in those requests. Let us know what you want to hear about. Let us know what you want to talk about. We might get to it. We might even have, if you want to inquire about possibly being a guest on the show, hit the lines. We're not just letting everybody on, so you better be able to come on here and make people laugh or something. One of the two. We can't have no lames popping on the show. We're going for 5 stars. We're at the 4. We're going for 5. All right, appreciate you guys coming in. Happy next week. Big episode. Peace.
I'm an addict and I feel like I'm in space. You did. She throw it back, she got the pillow in her face. And I'm smoking on exotic. You might think the blunt is lace. You did. I